to be here with you inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. Always happy to be here with you, hanging out. And Cafe Kubal, located on 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street, as well as inside, and those are all in Syracuse, as well as inside of their double-decker cafe on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York. And, of course, you can find Cafe Kubal at their drive-thru location at the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners right there in North Syracuse, right by the airport. So make sure you head off to Cafe Kubal today and let them know that Wake Up Call sent you their way. Big ups and big appreciation to Cafe Kubal for all that they do here in our community and beyond. We appreciate them so very much, and I appreciate you all for heading out to Cafe Kubal and supporting local as you always do so very well. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora that you're watching and listening to in Central and Upstate New York, on the East Coast, the West Coast, the Midwest. Shout out to my Wisconsin people, my Wisconsins. Hope you're all doing very well, and PJ and Mary obviously very much connected to Wisconsin, so big shout out to them. I know all those places, Waukesha, Ashwaubenon. I got it down, so shout out to all my people, including Mr. Aaron Service from Ashwaubenon. Big shout out to my buddy, Mr. Aaron Service. Hope that everything's going well for you, brother. And thank you for tuning in wherever you are on YouTube.com, Facebook.com, and MixLR.com, all /WakeUpCallDT. Of course, also here on Facebook.com /LiveNowDT and on WakeUpCallDT.com's homepage. So however you're connecting with the show, I thank you so much for being a part of the broadcast every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We appreciate your patience this morning as PJ and Mary and I were having a little powwow before the show got started, talking with each other here, and always love speaking with Miss Mary T. You've heard her on the air sometimes. Typically, you don't hear Miss Mary T on the air, but we always love to have her, and we love to shout her out because she deserves it. And I wouldn't say she's the person. I wouldn't say she's the one that stands behind PJ. I would say she stands right next to him, and Miss Mary T holds down the fort in such an awesome way. So we love Mary. We give her a lot of support and a lot of love. One of those people that helps everybody. And, so the person that you're always happy to help because she does so much for so many. So with that being said, this is the first week where we're hopping into our wall-to-wall PJ takeover. That means two things. It means Papa Joe's on the show from not 9 to 10, but 9 to 11. It also means that you can wear your pajamas at work while you listen to the show. So it's the PJ takeover. Wear your PJs, hang out in the PJs, listen to PJ, and we're going to have a great time. Every week is going to consist of these things for as long as baseball season continues, but the other ones will carry through. Every week, as you see here on your screen on YouTube and Facebook, both.com /WakeUpCallDT, inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin', you see here Papa Joe's picture, and you see Major League Baseball's logo, college football's logo, the Jaguars and the NFL. Those are going to be the topics, and other things may come up, but these topics will be with you all the way throughout each of our broadcasts. The rest of the Major League Baseball season, throughout the entire playoffs and the World Series. College football from beginning to end. Jaguars from beginning to end. NFL, same thing, beginning to end. And every week, PJ and I will be choosing college football games because there's so many of them. We're going to be choosing college because there's over 130 teams in the FBS Division 1A. We'll pick and choose our games. We will always do the Florida Gators for PJ and Syracuse for me. And as we pick these games for you, we'll put them up on the screen the following week, like you'll see us do this week with college football week 2 and NFL week 1. So we will have our picks every week, and then we will come to our picks the next week and see how well we did, and we will keep a running tally. And then in the NFL, we'll do the same thing. So we'll be taking a look back at the college football games we predicted, and we predicted the entire NFL field for week 1. We'll see how PJ and I did, and we will make our predictions here for week 3 of college football and week 2 for the NFL. So with all of that on your plate, it's now time to dine in with PJ. Let's bring him in. Papa Joe, how are we doing?
I'm out of breath already, Daniel.
I had,
All right, let's roll.
I had
Time
to,
rock and roll, buddy. buddy.
Yeah, I did the whole intro for us both. You got to sit and relax and listen to all that. So
That's right.
yeah, one of these shows, PJ, I'm going to make you have to memorize everything, and you're going to have to say all the channels and all the information. I'm going to have you do it.
Oh, geez. I'll probably get all your sponsors wrong.
You won't get Chick-fil-A wrong. I know that.
No, hell no. Hell no.
So, and as we're talking this morning, PJ, we have officially announced that we are working with Chick-fil-A Watertown, our third Chick-fil-A franchise. So in upstate New York, there are 3 Chick-fil-A's, and we have Cicero, Clay, and Watertown is opening hopefully on October 27th here of 2022, right after my birthday. So 3 Chick-fil-A's now. What are your thoughts on that? We've had Cicero pretty much from the beginning, and we've had Chick-fil-A Clay from their beginning, and now we will have Watertown from their beginning.
That's good. I know the best franchise to buy in the country, no doubt about that. I know it's expensive also. Watertown's a little hike for you, but at least they're in the system. You'll have fun with that. Maybe go up and do an on-site show or something like that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be fun. Like being up in the North Country, right by Fort Drum, mind you, by the way, to everybody out there. And a big thanks to everyone who has put their life on the line to help total strangers. So thank you all for your service to literally everyone in the military, to our Marines, to the Navy, to the Army, to the Air Force, and of course to all of our first responders, our police officers, our sheriffs, as well as everyone that works in our fire departments and so on and so forth, and everybody in the hospitals. Without you, life doesn't keep going, literally. So, the time to thank you was yesterday, and I'm going to make sure that we thank you as often as possible. So, big shout out to you. PJ, I will hand it over to you. I will talk about Scherzer in just a little bit, folks. He did come to Syracuse last night, and I do have some very professional photos taken with my beautiful camera that I'll be releasing today. So I'm going through them, and I took a ton of them. I took like every single motion of his. I felt like a true photographer, and as he was winding up to pitch, I snapped 15 shots. I felt like when Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa were in their home run battle, and you could just hear the cameras going off 300 times. So I got a ton of photos of Max Scherzer. We'll be putting those up here on my professional photos today. So very much looking forward to talking about that. But before that, PJ, I will hand it off to you for our first conversation of the day in our PJ Takeover, as he'll be with me co-hosting on Thursdays from 9 to 11 a.m. Your thoughts on Major League Baseball as we get ever closer to the postseason.
Well, things are lining up pretty good. It's going to be a lot of fun. I tell you, you growing up and watching Scherzer, that's something right there, boy. I imagine he looks awesome in person throwing a ball. I remember years ago when John Smoltz was still pitching for the Braves, and he had to take some time off. He made a start in Jacksonville for the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. I don't think they were the Jumbo Shrimp then, but Mary and I decided to go. And the crowd was amazing. They turn out for these ex-major leaguers, or current major leaguers then. And he looked awesome. And he struck out 1 million people. I'm sure Scherzer looked really good, too. So that's a good memory right there, because Smoltz is a Hall of Famer, and certainly Scherzer is going to be a Hall of Famer. So that's going to be something. Speaking of Hall of Famers, I do have to mention this. This happened Wednesday night. Adam Wainwright and Yadier Molina of the Cardinals just started their 325th game together, which means that Molina caught Wainwright 325 times. That used to be a record, 324 with Mickey Lolich and Bill Freehan from the Tigers. You're too young to remember them, but Mickey Lolich was a 131 one year and won the Cy Young Award. So, these kind of records will not be broken. No one is ever going to come close to Molina and Wainwright, and this was something. And of course, in typical fashion, they won the game last night. And with that, they just seem to be drawn away in that Central Division, away from my Brewers, who can't seem to spell baseball, let alone play it. So I'll get going here, and we'll run through this and have a little fun with it. You got the American League. The Yankees are still up in the East by 6 games over to Toronto. Tampa Bay is only 7.5 games are out. So actually all three of these teams are going to wind up being in the playoffs anyway. So the Yankees aren't going anywhere. They're gonna win at least half or more than maybe 5/8 the rest of their games and to win the division. But Toronto and Tampa are both going to be in the playoffs in the wild card. Got to give a good shout out to Baltimore Orioles, who just 2 months ago I told you I gave them up for dead. They were 10 games under 500. They weren't going anywhere. And here they are. They're 8 games over 500, making a hell of a run. They're not going to make the playoffs, but what a comeback for them. Boston is spending a lot of money on old stars that aren't going anywhere. So the Central League, you got the Cleveland Indian Gardens, excuse me for that. You got the White Sox is second, Minnesota's third, and it looks like the Guardians are probably going to hold on. If they don't, the White Sox are going to win it. But, you know, the problem with this division is it's poor. I mean, there's not a lot of good baseball being played. And, frankly, whoever wins the division is probably going to be in the playoffs, but no one else is going to make it. I think the second place team, whether it be Chicago or Minnesota, is not going to have enough to get in there. So whoever's going to win this division is going to have to fly solo. You got the West. You got Houston Astros is much far better than anyone else. Not that much better than Seattle, because Seattle looks like they're going to make the playoffs too. So I watched Seattle play last night. They're a good team, period. They're 80 and 60. Far better than anyone else. They would be that good this year. Houston is kicking in ass with everyone. I mean, they're hitting the ball, they're running, they're stealing bases, sacrifice flies, squeeze bunts, complete games for pitchers. You know, everything is good for them. And Dusty Baker does not get enough recognition for what he's done with the Astros. When the Astros made the poor decision to steal signs several years ago, 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, I can't remember when, it sort of put them really down with everyone. I mean, including myself. And I know cheating is involved, but you don't really publicize it. You know, you don't go around banging the tops of trash barrels to try to signal a pitch. I mean, that's dumb. But they got caught, and they brought an old hand in, Dusty Baker, to come in, and he's won the division ever since. He's going to win this division. So he's the best. Their hitting is exceptional. Kyle Tucker is having a breakout year, almost 100 RBIs. Altuve and Bregman still carry the load, even though Carrera left to go to Minnesota. I think that the American League, and Cy Young Award winner is probably going to come from this team. I think Justin Verlander's probably still up on it, even though he's injured, but I'll get to that in a little bit. Go to the National League, and your Mets and the Braves are in a flat-footed tie just about to win their division. I don't really see too much difference in these teams right now. I think the Mets can certainly use Scherzer, that's for sure. Philadelphia's hanging in there third, and it looks like all three of these teams are going to make the playoffs. So shout out to those guys for sure. Atlanta, I thought they were behind 7 or 8 games, and I didn't think they would make a run like this, but they've been playing fantastic. I mean, they're 6-4 last week, while the Mets were 4-6. There's 2 games right there. You got the Mets, Atlanta, and Philadelphia looks like they're going to make the wild card. Essentially, you got the Cardinals drawn away, playing the best baseball of anyone, frankly. And the Brewers, what can I say about the Brewers? I mean, they traded Hader. They can't seem to get timely hitting. Yelich, again, you hear me say this every week. He's a shell of the player that he was, MVP player a couple of years ago. The Brewers got an outside shot at making a wild card, but they're just not a good enough team right now. In St. Louis, with their 3 Hall of Famers, Adam Wainwright, Yadier Molina, and Albert Pujols, are gonna sweep this, and kudos to them too. They outstanding team. These teams in the league, Daniel, don't have many weaknesses, and for anyone to try to expose them, there just isn't any. So I look for St. Louis to draw it away there and finish it up. The Brewers got an outside shot for right there, but I don't see it. West, you got the Dodgers drawing away over there too. I think they got the best record in baseball. They got great pitching, great hitting. They got all the best manager in the National League is Roberts, Dave Roberts. The Padres, even though they're 20 and a half games behind the Dodgers, looks like they got a shot at making the wild card too. So I like this division. The Giants, San Francisco disappointed me a little bit. I thought they would do better. They got some older players too that were playing really well. Brandon Belt, Brandon Crawford. Those guys were playing well, but there's not enough good players to play well to win enough games. So you can't do that. Let's go to the wild card. And I mentioned that in the American League East that the Toronto Blue Jays are going to make it. Tampa Bay is right on the edge, but they got to play it off to figure out what's going on. National League, you got the Atlanta going to win it, or New York Mets are going to win it. So either one of those are going to be the wild card. And then the Phillies are going to slip in there too. It's good baseball at this time of year, and the cream of the crop really comes forward. And I watched the other night and I'm fortunate again for my Miss Mary G, who bought me the MLB package where I can watch games all over the place. I got the games on at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Daniel. I got them all day long, and if I want to watch them, I'll switch over and watch a game I want to do. So I see the Yankees are playing, and I said, I gotta watch them anyway. The Yankees and the Brewers and some of the teams I like, the Angels. Saw Mike Trout hit a 7th home run in a row the other night. Anyway, Aaron Judge is having a season for the ages. Now, Aaron Judge is the best slugger in baseball right now. I saw him club his 54th and 55th homer the other night. I mean, when he hits a home run, there's a different sound to his bat. It's not a little clang. It's sort of a click, when the ball travels 400 feet. He looks like he's got an outside chance of being a Triple Crown winner. He's hitting, for an average, he's hitting really well. The home runs, he's leading the league. And RBIs, he's leading the league. He's hitting 310. Now, the leader in the division is Arnaz from Minnesota, is only hitting 320. Bogarts from Boston is 317. So, almost, you could assuredly say that if he continues playing the way he is and hitting the way he is, he just doesn't hit home runs. He hits singles and doubles, and he doesn't too many triples. Long legs doesn't move that fast. But he's hitting 310. He's leading the league in home runs and RBIs. He's got a really good chance to be a Triple Crown winner. And, of course, he's my MVP for the American League anyway. So, he's just the best, period, right now.
Yeah.
Now, I do have to give a shout-out to Ohtani.
Yeah.
Saw him pitch the other night. Again, he was down for 6 innings. The first couple of innings he hit to the Astros, I think. He got off to a shaky start, but he pitches his way out. He's got so many pitches that he can throw for strikes that the batter really gets confused on what the guy can throw. So if you're sitting on a 2-0 fastball, he's not going to throw you a 2-0 fastball. He's going to throw you a split finger or a changeup or something like that. He'll make you swing away and look like an idiot. So it's tough to time a guy like Ohtani. Now, he is really having an MVP season. Because he's hit, 34 homers. He's got 88 or 90 RBIs. And as a pitcher, he's 11-8 or something like that. I mean, we really are watching someone that we won't ever see again from before or in the future. In any other year, he'd probably be the MVP. But I think that Aaron Judge, his season for the ages and the possibility of a Triple Crown is there for his taking. Ohtani can hit, field, runs well for a big man. Beat out an infield hit the other night. And then he hits for average. So, he's just a pleasure to watch. And he's a good guy. I mean, he's always busting balls in the clubhouse, and he's having fun with guys. And, of course, he hit home run with the Angels, and he got to wear a cowboy hat, goes up and down the aisle in there. And watching the Angels the other night, I watch the Angels every night I can get them on. I watched Trout every one of his home runs that tied the league for consecutive games for home runs, which was 7. And the record was 8. I think the other night he went 2 for 4, did hit a home run, so his streak stopped. You know what he says? He wasn't aware of any streak like that. He gives an interview. He says, I just have to start another streak. And that's just Mike Trout. He's just a carefree guy, and he plays ball. He's got 35 homers, almost 80 RBIs. And if he wasn't out that time, he would be in MVP category too, but not this year. National League, I got still Paul Goldschmidt is still in the running for the National League MVP. I think he's got an outside chance of an MVP too, of a Triple Crown winning too. He's hitting 324. He's one behind Schwarber and homers and RBIs. He's leading, so he's hitting 324. The leader's Freddie Freeman at LA for 329. So we got a possibility, Daniel, a real distinct possibility that these guys in the American League and the National League, the ones I just talked about, Judge and Goldsmith, got a chance of being a Triple Crown winner in the same year. Unheard of. Now, Goldsmith, to me, is the MVP of the National League, but he's followed closely behind by Nolan Arenado, which is his teammate, hitting for average well, and he's got over 100 RBIs too. So they're formidable. St. Louis is a formidable team. It's really, really, and don't be surprised if they go all the way. I don't think they're going to get by the Dodgers, but there's a chance they could. Goldsmith for them, and for pitching in the National League and the American League. I told you about Verlander. National League, there are 3 or 4 pitchers that are right on the edge there for the Cy Young Award. There's Tyler Anderson and Tony Gonsolin for the Dodgers, along with Julio Urias. All 3 of those guys have got 16 and 15 wins. But the leader in the division is Kyle Wright from Atlanta's got 18 wins. But you don't discuss Kyle Wright, even though he's a hell of a player. You talk about the 3 guys from Los Angeles that are leading the division and leading the stats, because the Dodgers are probably going to win the World Series, and if they do, it's going to be because of these 3 guys. There's so much going on now that even an error here and there, or a blue hit or something like that, or a homer or a walk-off walk or something like that, whatever happens now is critical. And you can look back, maybe you don't want to look back in June where you lost the game because you didn't run the bases right or something like that. But if you lose a game now because you run the bases wrong, it sticks right out. So all the guys are playing well. The teams are playing well. Some of the teams I wish were doing better, especially my Brewers. But you can't go wrong with what's happening, because every week we talk about the same players and the same teams. Some teams are making a move and other movers aren't. So it's okay. It's okay. It's fun to talk about these guys, and it's fun to talk about the leaders in the division.
Coming from Papa Joe here this morning in the PJ Takeover. You're used to him being with us every single Thursday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Time. He's now going to be with us all the way through, which I'm very excited. He'll be with me 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. in our Thursday marathon of PJ and I talking about a lot of different things all the way through baseball season and college and NFL seasons as well. PJ just gave you like the encyclopedia of what's going on right now in baseball, and to break it down into what we've taken away here, looking at the fact that this is the new playoff system, and if it happened today, and as PJ was discussing the fact of some of these teams that have come up, like Baltimore, who's still alive in this whole thing. Baltimore 4 games out of being in the wild card as it currently stands, and they're behind Tampa Bay those 4 games. They are 75 and 67 at the time that we're talking today on September 15th, and Tampa Bay is 79 and 63. If it started right now, Houston would take the number 1 seed, and in this new playoff format, there's 6 teams in the NL and 6 teams in the AL. The top 2 teams will receive a bye. The 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th teams will face off against each other in a series. So we'll have 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5, and the top 2 will sit and watch as those best of 3 wildcard series are going to be played. So a new format with an opportunity. If it happened today, Houston and the Yankees would get the bye. The Cleveland Guardians also known as the Indians. And I had that conversation with somebody else. They're like, Dan, they're the Indians. I mean, it's just no matter what.
The Indians,
Yeah, no,
always. They'll always be the Indians too.
yeah, and so Cleveland right now would get that third spot. Toronto would get the first wild card, which would put them at fourth. Shout out to them with 81 wins. Seattle, I was talking about them and how they were within striking distance. Well, they've moved up here. 80 and 62 puts them in the fifth spot in the AL currently. And Tampa Bay falls to the final and sixth spot with Baltimore chomping at their heels. The Chicago White Sox are still in it as well, 6.5 games back. The Minnesota Twins are 7.5 games back. And the Boston Red Sox are 10.5 games back. Who else is 10.5 games back, you ask? Well, in the National League, the Arizona Diamondbacks are also 10.5 games back. Atlanta right now, well, pardon me, let's start at the top here in the National League. If it happened today, the Dodgers with 98 wins, folks, just shy of 100 wins at this point. They are in first place. The Mets have second place, and the Cardinals have third. In fourth, the Atlanta Braves. In fifth, the Philadelphia Phillies. And in sixth, those pesky San Diego Padres have found their way. Milwaukee is only 2 games back from San Diego of getting the final wild card spot in the National League. The San Francisco Giants are 9 games back, and you know what? People want to say what they want to say, but everybody talks about the Red Sox, and everybody has hope in the Red Sox. Well, they and the Arizona Diamondbacks have the same amount of ground to catch up, 10.5 games back. And until they're eliminated, I'm going to talk about the fact that Arizona is still alive. So that's what the playoff picture looks like if it happened today. Once again, top 2 teams get a bye, 3 through 6. Are going to play 3 versus 6 and 4 versus 5. And then after that wild card, we'll see where we go from here. Greg said Cardinals will likely get and host the 6th seed in a 3-game series unless the Braves and Mets both fall on their faces. Well, hopefully that doesn't happen. I also want to wish everybody well we can here. And there's a lot of Hispanic players in Major League Baseball. It's also my cousin Miguel, who's more like a little brother to me. My little brother Miguel, who is from Guatemala City, Guatemala. It is his birthday, and it is the first day of Hispanic Heritage Month. So a beautiful thing to celebrate his birthday and him being Hispanic, having his birthday be on the day that starts Hispanic Heritage Month here on September 15th. So I would like to say Happy Hispanic Heritage Month, and to all of my wonderful and beautiful Spanish-speaking cultures around the world, Feliz Mes de la Herencia Hispania. So very, very happy Hispanic Heritage Month to everybody that is out there, and a very happy birthday to my cousin Miguel. PJ, I want to talk about something because you bring him up a lot, and there's something that we never really addressed on the show. Now, as Major League Baseball tested out during the COVID year of 2020, they tested out the universal designated hitter where it wasn't one league with and one league without. And so, the universal thing allowed Jacob deGrom and Shohei Ohtani to do their things. But what's being called the Shohei Ohtani rule allows the Angels pitcher to also be their designated hitter. And I want to break down this rule. Now, looking at that, the Players Association, the MLPA, taking a look at this, reached a tentative agreement with this rule going into the season, which is called the Shohei Ohtani rule, which allows a player to start a game as both a pitcher and a designated hitter and continue in their role as the DH when they're no longer pitching. Now, the rule change has included a bunch of different things, but the Shohei Ohtani rule allows pitchers like Ohtani that are so good at it to come into the game as the pitcher and the designated hitter, and when they come off the mound, they can remain the DH. What are your thoughts on the fact? Because it's an enigma to see something like that, to know that pitchers are even good at hitting the ball. I mean, one of my favorite pitchers of all time, Randy Johnson, and right now my favorite pitcher of all time, and I took a picture, picture to the picture. I took a picture with his Hall of Fame plaque in Cooperstown last year. A big fan of that. They tell you not to touch the plaques, full disclosure, I touched every single one of them that I wanted to. Touched all the Yankee ones, and definitely spent some time over with the Randy Johnson one, getting a photo up. So, looking at the Shohei Ohtani rule, more often than not, pitchers struggle to hit. It's most of the time people consider it an easy out. But with guys like Jacob deGrom and Shohei Ohtani, and this Shohei Ohtani rule, which allows you to be the pitcher and designated hitter, and when you come off the mound to remain on the field offensively as a designated hitter, what are your thoughts about the Shohei Ohtani rule, and that the universal DH didn't totally take away from us those few pitchers like Ohtani that can hit the ball?
That rule has been in effect for the old rule for a long time, and baseball just needed to catch up. I mean, they got some old-fashioned rules that just don't meld with these young kids these days. But Ohtani is such a generational player that I think the fans would start screaming, even the fans in the visitors' side would start screaming if he didn't go out and pitch and hit. His mental capacity is such that he can play a game in his head pitching, and he can do it hitting also. He knows just what he's doing all the time. He's got a lot of baseball IQ, and I know he learned it from overseas, probably watching a lot of tapes from American players too, but he just has the ability to do that. And he can switch gears. He could be throwing a shutout, and the next inning he's up with the bases loaded and crank a home run. I mean, his mental capacity is such that he can do anything, and he's so gifted to be able to do that, and we're lucky to be able to watch it. I do like the rule, of course, and the getting rid of the pitchers hitting was archaic. I mean, it slowed the game down terribly. You're not going to get too many pitchers get any hits, let alone any home runs. So I'm glad that's gone. I tell you, we got to touch on something though that's really come up, and that's some of the rules for next year are going to be changing.
Well, before you get into it, PJ, because ironically, and not to interrupt you, ironically, we got asked the question if we would talk about that. There's 3 big rule changes that are coming, and I know you're going to get into them, but I want to just let people know that the 3 rule changes that are coming, the pitch timer is coming to us, defensive shift limits are coming to Major League Baseball, and bigger bases. Now, if you go out to a AAA baseball game, you'll see a shot clock, so to speak, that is right there behind home plate that the pitcher looks at, because those pitch timers are already there inside of the farm system, and now we're going to be able to see this. So in an effort to create a quicker pace of play, there's going to be a 30-second timer between batters, and between pitches there's a 15-second timer with the bases empty, and a 20-second timer with runners on base. So once again, there's going to be a 30-second timer between batters, and then between pitches, a pitcher will have 15 seconds when the bases are empty between their pitches, and 20 seconds when there is a runner on base or runners on base. So, looking at that, that's something to pay attention to here. There's a lot of things to break down within it, and I'm going to hand it over to PJ in a second. The defensive shift limits. So defensive team must have a minimum of 4 players on the infield, with at least 2 infielders completely on either side of second base. These restrictions are made to increase the batting average on balls in play, to allow infielders to better showcase their athleticism, and to restore more traditional outcomes on batted balls. So as of this, the league-wide batting average on balls in play of 291 in 2022 is 6 points lower than that in 2012. So looking at this, defensive team must have a minimum of 4 players on the infield, with at least 2 infielders completely on either side of second base. And the bigger bases, the bases which traditionally have been 15 inches square, will instead be 18 inches square. Home plate will remain unchanged. So that'll look at the fact of obviously making it easier to get to the base, and for stolen bases to happen as well, which could obviously change a game and make a game run faster. So with these 3 new rules coming, I kind of gave you a little primer to it, PJ. It's funny how you said this is what you wanted to talk about, not even knowing that we had that question come in. Pitch timer, defensive shift limits, and bigger bases. Your thoughts?
Well, a pitch timer is something that's needed, and also the hitter timer. These guys, they're a creature of habits, and they've learned that by watching ball players over the years, and they think that when I get to the make these two, I'm going to step out, I'm going to adjust my gloves, I'm going to adjust my hat, go down and scratch my leg or something like that. Before you notice, 45 seconds before they get in the batter's box, and this needed to be done quite a while ago. And I agree with all the changes. I don't want to see a guy who for instance, Ohtani, who's a left-handed hitter. The second baseman played him in right field. I mean, if he hits a line shot, usually a base hit, won't be a base hit the way they're playing now because the guys in right field going to be able to field it on and clean up and throw it to second and throw it to first and get them out. So the right side is the same way. Aaron Judge, you got to play him in short left field. I mean, it says shortstop, second base, first base, third base. That's what this baseball is. Yeah. You don't put your second baseman out in right field. You don't do that. So you got to play it. If you want to play it at the end of the dirt, that's fine. But don't go into the outfield. I agree with that. The base move, I don't think that's going to make much difference to the size of it. I don't think that's a problem. But one thing I do want to broach, maybe in conclusion to this type of conversation, is the umpires and the other players and the players and the pitchers, every time the ball hits the ground, they got to throw it out. Now, why do they do that? I don't understand that. Why? I don't get it. Sure, a stuffed up ball, you can cut the ball a little bit more when you're pitching, but there's absolutely no reason to throw the ball, keep throwing the ball out of the game, and wait for the pitcher to get another ball. Then he's got to get on the mound. He's got to go through all his gyrations, and before you know it, it's 30 seconds again, and it's a waste of time. So all of these rules are meant to speed up the game. But the most important one, I think, that they left out is just baseball. Keep a baseball in it. If a guy gets a ground ball to shortstop and throw him out, throw the ball back to the pitcher. Let the pitcher throw the ball. I mean, they got to stop. They got to throw the ball out. Then the umpire's going to get a ball, put it in the catcher's mitt. The catcher's got to throw it back to the pitcher. Come on, that's ridiculous. So you got the three rules we talked about, and I'd like to see something done with the baseballs, but I guess they'll never going to entertain that. And play, pitchers like to have a clean ball so they can scuff it up their own way.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, and like you said, looking at the pitching side of things and and throwing a ball out and just what that does and how much time that takes, and for a pitcher to get comfortable and this, that, whatever with the new ball and all this. I feel like there was something said a while ago about like how many balls get thrown out and all those, and I'm sure I can look that up, here. But those new rules coming and the different pieces here, like you said, if you're going to be a second baseman, be a second baseman. If you're going to be a shortstop, be a shortstop. And hopefully, this will help things out. They want to speed the game up because obviously they understand they want to get younger generations involved who have the time span of it's gone already. So the time span of look at the kitty, look at the kitty, look at the, and it's just and not everybody, okay, and I think it's wrong, this stereotype. I think millennials, and I've been guilty of this too, there are a lot of great people in these younger generations, and I think that they get looked over because, everybody's kind of focusing in on, well, here's the negatives of this and here's the negatives of that. Well, there's also some great people, in this younger generations, and, good people that are raised right or are going to continue to come through this, and hopefully they'll start to love baseball. The thing that I don't understand, though, is that for a lot of people that have become Yankee fans because of Aaron Judge, that have gone back to being a Yankee fan because of Aaron Judge, that have started watching the games again because of Aaron Judge, that have never watched a baseball game but watched a baseball game because of Aaron Judge. One of my nieces, who's a massive Aaron Judge fan, shout out to Lorelei. I mean, so many people that love the game love Aaron Judge. Lifer Yankee fans love Aaron Judge. People that never liked baseball love Aaron Judge. People that like baseball but didn't watch it but now are watching it a little more love Aaron Judge. So why aren't the Yankees paying Aaron Judge. Again, if this was Steinbrenner, if this was Pops, if this was George Steinbrenner, may he rest in peace, this would have been done at the beginning of the season, because he would have said, here's a blank check. I signed it already. Fill in your amount. I'll take a look at it, and then I'll cut it, and, and we'll take care of it in like a day. So, I mean, I don't understand this. I think Aaron Judge right now is going toward being the highest paid player in the history of baseball. And I don't know why. I don't know what the Yankees are waiting for. Now, granted, he could say, hey, let's put it on hiatus until we're done with the postseason. But if I'm Aaron Judge right now and I'm this deep into the 2022 season and my Yankees are going to be in the postseason, and, as of right now, keep putting that work in, the Yankees get into this thing, they make a deep run. Maybe I'm saying, you know what? I don't want to talk about it right now because I want to see how far we get, and then I'm going to keep adding zeros. I think if I'm Aaron Judge at this point in September, I'm like, you know what? We don't have a deal. We'll do the deal after the season, because he's only going to be worth more money as this season goes on.
True. I don't know if he's going to be the highest paid player in baseball, the highest contract. I still think Mike Trout is the best player that's come along in 40 years. He from his 19th birthday through this year, which is 30 years old, he's been an all-star and an MVP character almost every year. Now, Judge certainly is a good player, but, Trout is still a 5-tool player. Judge is not a 5-tool player. If he was a 5-tool player like a Mookie Betts or someone, he would be in that conversation. But Aaron Judge deserves to get the money he's going to get, and especially in New York where they can afford it, with their contract with cable companies. If he surpasses Trout, fine. If not, it's not a big deal. I mean, these salaries are going to escalate to the levels that are unknown to some of the old guys. I think probably Aaron Judge probably makes more in 1 week that Babe Ruth did in a whole year. So I'd like to see Aaron Judge being paid, whether he's getting paid Mike Trout money or not. I don't know. And he certainly is a wonderful player. Let me reiterate again. I don't mean to disparage him. He's not a 5-tool player like Trout. Trout is probably on the very edge of a 5-tool player now because he's lost a step here and there, but he can still steal a base and he can go get in center field. So kudos to Aaron Judge for being my MVP this year for the American League, and let's hope that the Yankees he carries the Yankees through the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm putting up the poll right now. I want y'all to vote in this. And my apologies if I said we were going to put this poll up last week. I can't remember if I said for sure that we were putting the poll up, but I am putting the poll up right now. So for those of you that would like to vote in this, and thank you to everybody that votes in our polls. I cannot thank you enough for how amazing the response has been over the years. So I'm putting it up right now. Who is your American League MVP? Is it Shohei Ohtani or is it Aaron Judge? So I am putting these up right now. I'm going to let y'all vote here. You got 7 days to vote, and it's on the Twitter. And I might add it to Facebook as well. Facebook doesn't allow pages to run polls, which makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. But on Twitter right now, at CallDT, that's Twitter at CALLDT. Go there. Click follow so you never miss any of the news that I put out, and you'll have the opportunity to vote in the poll. Who is your American League MVP in your opinion? Shohei Ohtani or Aaron Judge? And so that poll is now live. It is up. It is ready for you, and you can vote in it immediately. So go to Twitter right now at CallDT, CALLDT, to vote in our poll of your American League MVP. Is it Shohei Ohtani or Aaron Judge? We'll take a step aside here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We'll let you vote here for a second, and we'll be back with Papa Joe. We ran hour one with baseball alone. So, college football, the Jaguars, and the NFL, as well as a look back at our picks and a running tally of our prediction records. PJ and I will have plenty coming up right after this fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. So thank you so much for being here, and we'll be back with you momentarily on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from inside of the Cafe Kubal studios.
Cafe Cubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafecubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Cubal needs. Cafe Cubal, coffee for the soul.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating. Find them at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and all the time online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, you can order all throughout the country at maandpaspopcorn.com. And remember to get your tins, which have in-store half-price refills forever. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, available to you for fundraising and all of your events by calling 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
Witty Wicks Candles and Gift Shop, Township 5, Camillus, where you will find handcrafted all-natural soy wax candles over 60 cents to freshen up your home. We carry a wide range of locally made items, Syracuse, Syracuse Salt, and Chocolate Pizza Company, to name a few. Let our knowledgeable staff help choose unique gifts and keepsakes for any occasion. Gifts for family and friends, and maybe a little something for yourself. Witty Wicks Candles and Gift Shop, Township 5, Camillus.
This is a special message from Merritt Brady, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Watertown on 1290 Arsenal Street in Watertown, New York.
Chick-fil-A for me has always been about the people. I think it starts with the strength and leadership of the Cathy family. It's just amazing to see a family-run business reach the altitude that they have. Second mile service is something that we embodied at my previous business, and the ability to make people feel like they're the only person at your establishment, that you are there to serve them that day and looking for those extra ways to make them happy, to anticipate what they need next is what makes me tick. And I'm going to have so many opportunities at Chick-fil-A to do that. It's one of my favorite things to eat in the world. My favorite application question or interview question when I'm interviewing is when I get to, have you ever eaten at Chick-fil-A? And a smile hits both their ears. You know, they can't even answer the question for a second. And when I see that, it's like, man, that's going to be a great hire. They already get it. They already feel it. They already know that we're different. The Chick-fil-A experience, it's a real thing. And then, of course, just our generosity and community involvement and making a positive impact in the lives of our team members, our guests, and the community in general, I think is really the secret sauce.
Chick-fil-A Watertown on 1290 Arsenal Street in Watertown, New York. Coming to you, fall 2022. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on Facebook.com, YouTube.com, and MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT, where sports meets that thing called life. We got PJ here with us all the way through for our 2 hours of Thursday. This is the first Thursday we've ever done this, so I want to let you know the trajectory that PJ has been on in his promotions here. So PJ started off with, I said to him, we were sitting at the kitchen table, at his home down in St. Augustine, and we were talking, and I said, you challenge me. And I said, you give me so much credit for what I know, but I feel like you give me way too much credit. Like, I feel like you know so much more. I feel like I have to, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm blossoming, I'm becoming better because of PJ. And I had these great conversations about sports, about life. And you know that the tagline of Wake Up Call is where sports meets life inside of these Cafe Kubal studios. And we're talking, we're having a good time. And I said to myself, I was like, I want to share this with the world. I don't want to hold this to myself. I feel like PJ is such a blessing in my life. I think, he could be a blessing for other people. And I said, would you do a show? And he smiled and he said, really? And he looked very appreciative and he did the show. And then I said, would you like to do another one? He's like, a second one? You want me back? I said, yeah. And then I said, what about doing it for, every week? And he said, well, let's try college football season. Let me see how I do. And then we did college football, and then we leaned into the NFL, did the NFL, talked Jaguars, and I said, I really want to do all year round. And a couple of years in, he said, all right, let's do it. I don't know. He's like, what are we going to talk about? But we'll make it work. And I had no doubt in my mind that we would have no issue on what we would talk about. He came on, and now years that we have worked together, PJ went from one time to two times to just college football to, okay, we'll do football, we'll do some NFL, to all year round. And now he went from all year round, 1 hour a week, to now taking over our Thursdays here from 9 to 11. So, PJ, you've had about 13 promotions in the past couple of years, and I look forward to paying you in hugs and Sunday sauce.
Oh, thank you, Daniel. It's been fun.
Oh, and we lost. Hold on one second. We lost PJ here for a second. So let me get him back here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. My apologies on that. So we're bringing Papa Joe back in here. Yeah, we lost you. So what were you saying? Go ahead.
I forgot. It was 30 seconds ago. I thank you for the comments. I appreciate that. And I do have a lot of knowledge of sports over the years, and of course you don't because you're much younger. But there are sometimes you can equate the old times with the new times. In baseball, you certainly can't do that. But you gotta change with the times. You gotta change with these modern players, and frankly, I've been a little stuffed short about that. I'd rather see them behave like men instead of kids out there, but it's okay. And I enjoy talking, and if I can contribute something to the conversation, there's more fun to that too.
Yeah, and obviously with you being on this planet a little bit longer, I gotta do my research, look at my history, and that's something that I pride myself on, just gaining knowledge. And you were always so good with sharing yours, and you challenge me. You challenge me to learn more about certain conferences, certain teams, certain sports, certain things, and it's just turned into something really special. Did you ever think that you would be on radio and internet TV all over the world, let alone be taking over an entire Thursday?
No. I do remember back in my radio days, I gave interviews quite often, and I didn't mind talking then with a TV stuck in your face. You can't make any mistakes when that happens. But I'm glad I can do it now. My throat's a little scratchy right now, and I just started, Daniel.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and PJ and I talked about that. Right? Your throat being yesterday. Did almost 3 hours straight and gave you my fantasy football analysis for every single team. And I felt, at the end of it, there is a truth to why Mariah Carey has like lemon water by her and whatnot. So, your voice box here, right? This is all muscles and working parts, and you can overuse it. And so you have to be smart in how you train your voice and in how you work with your voice, and it's a learning thing for me every single day. So very happy to have PJ here with us, and very happy to give him promotions. I did not hand him a blank check like Aaron Judge is going to get, but we'll figure something out. We'll pay each other in like Jaguars merchandise. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But on your screen right now, you are seeing for the first time ever the DT's picks and PJ's picks. You're going to see these every week. Now, college football week 2 predictions, PJ and I picked 5 games. And in those 5 games that we picked, as you can see, we picked every single team the same except for one of them. Now, we don't talk about these ahead of time. It's not like I know who he's picking or he knows who I'm picking. So if they all are the same, then totally by chance. If they're all different, totally by chance as well. So PJ and I went through this, and we both picked Alabama over Texas, and PJ said it could be a trap 'em game, and it was. Texas almost defeated Alabama, the number 1 ranked team in the country at the time, and ended up losing at home 20-19. So Alabama stays undefeated with that 20-19 victory. So we picked that one correctly. And as we come down the line here, BYU Baylor, we both picked BYU, and they defeated Baylor in double overtime. 2 teams that are going to be Big 12 teams soon against each other. Baylor is. BYU will be coming out of independence and taking all of their sports from the West Coast Conference where they are with Gonzaga for everything else. And they're going to be shifting everything over, including football, to the Big 12. This is a prelude of that. BYU was at home, 21 ranked team in the nation. Baylor was ranked 9th in the nation. BYU won. PJ and I are right. Double overtime it took, 26-20. So we both had that one right. We picked Florida over Kentucky. Kentucky won that game. Kentucky is a trap 'em game for Florida in recent history. They were playing in Gainesville, but it didn't matter as the Kentucky Wildcats came in and stripped Florida of a victory, clawing away to a 26-16 victory over Florida. So we both got that one incorrect. And then taking a look at Tennessee-Pittsburgh, this one went to overtime as well. I had Pitt beating Tennessee in back-to-back years. They did it on the road in Tennessee. I thought they could do it again at home. I'm a big believer in Pat Narduzzi and their team. And Pittsburgh lost in overtime 34-27. So PJ was right on that one. I was wrong in that case, unfortunately. But I am happy that Pittsburgh fought back because that game looked like Tennessee early was going to take it. And Syracuse blew out Connecticut as they needed to do. 48-14. So with that being said, coming through this one, PJ, if I can bring up my, I'm going to bring up my whiteboard if I can here, and draw on this beautiful screen that you're seeing right now. So if I could take a little moment to draw on this for you, PJ's picks. So he got Florida wrong. He got Syracuse right, he got Alabama right, he got Tennessee right, he got BYU right. So PJ ends college football week 2, which is the first week of our prediction, with a 4-1 record. I got Florida wrong, Syracuse right, Alabama right, BYU right, and Pitt wrong. So I'm 3-2. So PJ beat me by 1 game in our college football week 2 predictions. PJ, looking back on those games, your Florida Gators taking an L at home to Kentucky, Syracuse blowing out UConn, Alabama barely beating Texas by 1 point on the road, Tennessee and Pitt going to overtime and Tennessee getting the dub, and BY motherfreaking U taking care of the team that they will eventually see as a conference foe next season with the Big 12, as BYU smacks Baylor when they came into town. So what are your thoughts on the games that we had this past week?
Oh, we can start with Alabama. They certainly didn't look like the number 1 team in the nation, and they aren't right now. I think Nick Saban, when you listen to Nick Saban in his interview, he doesn't pull any punches. If his team is not playing well, he says so, and he gives the other team credit. You've got to give Texas credit for winning that game. Frankly, I thought they won the game. They won the game in the trenches. If it wasn't for Bryce Young, they would have won. This kid is remarkable. He's an exceptional athlete, got good mental skills, throws a good ball. Not too big, but he just knows what to do with the ball. And Nick Saban, he knows that. So when he's in a situation like he was, He's hoping that his star quarterback is going to pull him through. And you saw on that last drive what this kid can do. He threaded a needle a few times right on the nose, and Alabama should have lost that game, but it wasn't for Bryce Young. Now, getting to my Gators, I don't pull any punches either. I mean, I certainly pull for them all the time, but Kentucky was the better team. They came in with a good record. They got a hell of a quarterback who's been around for 5 years. Came from up in your area up there in Connecticut somewhere. And he looked like it. And Anthony Richardson just does not play his game. And I think he choked. Florida was not the better team on the field. So I don't care if they were favored by 30 points, not 3. Kentucky was the better team. They played better, and they beat Florida in the swamp, which is not easy to do. When you got 90-something thousand people screaming at you, you gotta hope you do make the right plays. Kentucky's going to be a force to be reckoned with. Florida is not going to be. This now allows me to think deep into their schedule, and I know they're not going to beat Georgia. And if they win a division, even if they do beat Georgia, they're not going to beat Alabama. So Florida, at best, is going to be a 7-5 team, maybe something like that. I hate to see that after Billy Napier put such a good recruiting class together, and he's such a class guy. I just don't think that they have as much talent as they say they have. One thing with college athletes, these kids, they read too much they read all the time. They read ESPN daily. That's all they do. That's their Bible. Whatever they put on ESPN, they believe. They believe they're going to be world beaters, and they go out and some team flattens their ass. And that they read too much about themselves, and when they get in a game, they say, "Whoops, oops," like the boomer would say, "Whoops." You don't win games in the press. You win games on the field. And certainly Florida did not win, and I don't look for them winning as many games as they think they're going to do. One game I have to bring up, and that's the Notre Dame game. Now, can you believe what happened? I mean, I was looking at that and reading it, watching it, and flipping around. I said, I can't believe what I'm seeing. I said, this team is going to get beat. And they did get beat. And Texas A&M got beat by your team, Appalachian State. The parity out there is tough. It's tough right now. You got these kids coming out of high school, maybe don't have the best grades to get in some of the good schools, but they can go to the Marshalls and the Appalachian States and South Dakota States and whatever and win football games. And I'm glad to see Notre Dame lose. I mean, I hate to say that, but I never wanted Notre Dame to succeed at all. But I've always been bashing them for years because they're so overrated. Well, they're not overrated now. They're out of the top 25. Even if they win this week, they're not going to get in the top 25. So whatever Brian Kelly saw up there to move to LSU, he wasn't liking what he was seeing. So he got out of Dodge quick, and now you can see what happened.
Yeah, and listen, I mean, I've said it over and over and over again, and I'll say it again. At some point, we have to get to a point where we stop talking about Notre Dame. They're so good. No, they're not. They were good back then. They were good back in the day. Until they start winning, there's certain teams that get told that they're amazing. And this is the thing that frustrates me. The Big Ten and Notre Dame, they get accolades without having to do a single thing. And when you wonder, oh, Dan, really? They don't have to play a single game? No, they don't. Because, again, going back to the COVID year 2020, Ohio State and Michigan hadn't played a single game. They put them in the top 25 6 weeks into the season at 0-0. And Michigan went up 4 spots to be 0-0. They were 0-0. How do you move up spots without even going on the field? So the reality to me is I believe that you should get accolades when you earn them. I believe you should get awards when you earn them. I don't believe everybody gets a trophy. And I definitely don't believe that the team that doesn't even have to play a game gets a trophy. That doesn't make any sense to me. Notre Dame, what they asked me at the beginning of the season, I was asked, what do you think about Ohio State, Notre Dame? Who do you think is going to win? I said, well, first and foremost, let's talk about why Notre Dame's ranked 5th in the country, because that makes no sense. And I said, I was like, obviously I'm picking Ohio State, but why is Notre Dame in the top 5? That's a disrespect to everybody else. By the way, how many teams get told you don't play in a tough enough conference? Notre Dame doesn't play in a conference. So, that you keep these teams out like, oh, Cincinnati, your conference wasn't as strong. Well, what's Notre Dame doing? Well, Notre Dame's playing historically good teams. It's all about history, right? Stanford used to be good. USC used to be good. Notre Dame used to be good. I don't care who used to be good. I care who's good now. If it's about used to, well, then Syracuse should be in the top 25 because they had Jim Brown, Ernie Davis, and Floyd Little. Syracuse had Larry Zonka. Syracuse had Super Bowl champions Arthur Jones and Chandler Jones. They had Keith Bullock. They had Kevin Johnson, Donovan McNabb, Don McPherson. If you want to talk about history, then if it's based in history, Syracuse is a top 25 team. If it's based in history, Penn State, Notre Dame. If it's based in history, Clemson's not there if it's based in history because Clemson's history is now. Alabama wasn't great before Nick Saban. They weren't amazing. So, you look at these things, and the thing that frustrates me more than anything about Notre Dame in the Big Ten is they don't have to play one single game for somebody to be up there behind. And I would say that about anybody, right? I have no dog in the race here, but I would say that about anyone. I'd say it about the SEC. I mean, the SEC earns it, right? Alabama and Georgia, they get highly touted, and then they go play in the championship. You see Clemson get highly touted, and then Clemson, how many championships have they won in recent history, and what has Dabo Swinney done? By the way, congratulations on his extension of the extension of the extension to make him the highest paid guy ever in college football for a coach. I think it's like the most money. But when you look at college football, it is a travesty and a disrespect to the sport that some of these teams never have to play a down. So, Dan, why is Notre Dame struggling? Because they're not that good, okay? They're not that good this year. If this was any other team, except for the Big Ten, people would go, oh, you know what I mean? When Florida falters, what do they say? Well, Florida's not as good as they used to be, right? When Syracuse falters in the past couple of years, what do people say? Well, Syracuse, this isn't the 70s, Dan. This isn't the 50s, Dan. Well, then why isn't that the case with Notre Dame? How many quarterbacks does Notre Dame send to the NFL that are successful in recent history? I will tell you, no one. So, I mean, you look at Notre Dame, you look at their recent history, people are wondering why they're losing. Marshall went in there and said, we're going to play our game. We're going to go on the road to South Bend. Remember last year when Cincinnati went to South Bend and Cincinnati didn't go to overtime? They beat Notre Dame on the road in South Bend in front of Touchdown Jesus. In normal time, they blew them out by multiple scores. And what did the college football playoff, what was the conversation about it at the end of the year? Should we put Notre Dame in over Cincinnati, who beat them head-to-head? That's not a conversation in any other sport. Head-to-head wins out every other time. But in collegiate athletics, it doesn't matter what you do, it matters who you know. And it is so frustrating because you see Cincinnati beat Notre Dame in Notre Dame, and last year it was like, do we still put Notre Dame in? Now Marshall has won in South Bend. How many teams have to beat Notre Dame? And Clemson with DJ Uiagalelei, PJ's favorite quarterback word there, when Clemson went into town and DJ was in his second college football game ever, it took 2 overtimes for them for Notre Dame to defeat a Trevor Lawrence-less Notre Dame football team, or no, Clemson football team. It took them 2 overtimes to beat a backup quarterback in his second game in his history in college football. And Trevor Lawrence was on the sideline. So, because of contact tracing. So he had to stand there with a mask on. And then the thing that was a travesty after that is when Notre Dame's fans rushed the field and there was like 10,000 people on the field. On that field, nobody was wearing a mask and nobody was social distancing. And they're running by Trevor Lawrence, who couldn't play in the game because of some weird COVID rule that made no sense. Well, every Notre Dame fan got to jump on top of each other and bump into Trevor Lawrence, who should have been on the field the whole time. So, if you want Notre Dame to be ranked high, and you want Notre Dame to be in the college football playoff, then maybe, just maybe, Notre Dame should not be able to rest on their laurels of the fact that they have a lot of donors with a lot of money and a lot of boosters and a lot of famous alum. Maybe they should start winning football games, and maybe now, with Marshall beating them, y'all can shut up about it, because that's how I feel.
Oh, I love it. That's a good rant. That's one of your better ones. And it's true. But, you know, I can't remember the numbers, but the monies that Marshall and Appalachian State were paid to go play these teams, it's ludicrous. Dan, it was in the millions of dollars just to go play these teams, and they get beat. So not only do you get a win in Jimbo Fisher's territory and Notre Dame's territory, You get paid to win. I think that's great. Notre Dame's got a long way to go. One thing I noticed this last week watching the football, is that you always hear me harp on one thing that you can't teach to college football, and especially in the South, is speed. Alabama did not look fast to me. They did not play fast to me. Now, Georgia's an NFL team, for crying out loud. They play fast, they're big, and they're mean. If they played tomorrow, Georgia would win by 3 touchdowns. That's how good Georgia is. But anyway, it's imperative, people, for you to understand that if you're going to win football in this day and age, across the country, you've got to be able to play fast. Yeah, you can be big. You're right. The offensive lineman can be 6'5" and 320 pounds. That's great, okay? Yeah. But if you don't have a fast defensive backfield, fast linebackers, or fast running backs, or out receivers, you're not going to win. So when I say speed wins games, that's what they do. Not getting up to the line of scrimmage quickly and running a play quickly. That's not what I mean by fast. They play fast and react to the ball. And Alabama did not look fast to me. Now, I'm not sure Nick Saban is going to probably give them 100-yard wind sprints now forever to be saying that, but they didn't look fast. And if Alabama's going to win, they're going to have to play a lot faster. Georgia, they got to play as fast as Georgia did. Florida's defense played well. I got to agree with that. They lost, I know, but their defense didn't play that bad. And Anthony Richardson had one of the worst games of his career. And did he choke? Yes. He's got the athletes around him, that's for sure. And Kentucky played a good defensive game, too. So Kentucky speed, I think, beat Florida, just as Texas almost beat Alabama with their speed.
Yeah, and like you talk about, speed kills. The Big Ten, ground and pound, punch you over and over and over again, play that strong defense, run the ball, play that strong defense, run the ball, and over and over and over again. And listen, sometimes, and then you play Georgia, and Georgia wants to get after it. And you play Alabama, and Alabama wants to get after it, right? You play Florida. Florida's still a good team. And this is the thing, and this is reality, and I might have said this off the air, so let me say it on the air. If the Big Ten played in the SEC, they would be Rutgers, okay? Rutgers in the Big Ten, they can't seem to beat anybody. However, Greg Schiano is trying to turn things around, and I respect that. But let's call a spade a spade. If the Big Ten and the SEC became one mega ginormous conference, you wouldn't hear about Michigan. You wouldn't hear about Michigan State. You wouldn't hear about Ohio State. Wisconsin just got their door beat in. It's like, call what Washington State just beat Wisconsin in Wisconsin. Wisconsin every single year is ranked in the top 25, and every single year I say I don't know why. I never know why. Because nobody can tell me why. Because they lose all the time. The Big Ten will take up 7 spots in the top 25, and maybe 2 of them deserve to be there. Earn your keep. I didn't become a broadcaster because I walked up to somebody someday and said, hand me a microphone, I think I'm good at this. I worked at it. So I don't know anything in life where you just get to walk through the door and they say, you're the greatest ever. But in college football, that's what you get when it comes to these teams like Notre Dame, like Michigan, like blah, 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 blah. It doesn't even matter because at the end of the day, Alabama, Georgia, they're going to beat you. Clemson embarrassed Ohio State in the college football playoff. There's a reason why a few teams are in it, wreaking havoc at it. And thank God they're expanding it to 12, because if not, it was going to be the SEC. That was it. It was going to be, hello, here's 4 teams from the SEC. There should be 6, but here's the 4. If I'm the SEC right now, I'd have my own playoff. I'd have 6 to 8 teams beat the hell out of each other and see what happens at the end of it. I still think Alabama and Georgia are going to get there, but Auburn's interesting. Florida, hopefully, someday will be interesting. Arkansas has become more interesting. Tennessee has become more interesting. LSU, hopefully, will get some things done. But, Brian Kelly, when he was at Notre Dame, he got the benefit of being ranked really high for doing nothing. And now, now you're in the SEC. Now you have to earn it. You have to earn it. That's the thing that doesn't make any sense, PJ. And you talk about the SEC all the time. But this is something that makes no sense to me. The SEC makes you earn it. And if you lose in the SEC and you're in the top 25, you will fall. But if you're in the Big Ten or you're Notre Dame, there's all these special rules. Oh, he lost, but he had a pinky toe boo-boo. I don't understand why the best conference in football has to state their case when the Big Ten, not the best conference in football, doesn't. Do you find that ironic and ridiculous that if you're in the SEC and you lose, you get punished, but if you're in the Big Ten and you lose, nothing happens, when the SEC is the best conference in football?
Well, it's a double standard, that's for sure. And the punt.
Oh, and we lost PJ again. My apologies on that. That's my blunder here. We have him set up on here, and I like to hit buttons apparently. So we're gonna get PJ set back up here, and we'll get him ready. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, we lost you again, PJ. That was my fault. That was my blunder. So let me get you back up here. Go ahead and give your thoughts on the SEC Big Ten.
You know, I don't want to keep broaching the subject of the SEC, but I want the fans out there to understand that there's a brand of football that's played in the South that the other teams in the rest of the country are just finding out about and are trying to get there. You have to play fast. Now, Notre Dame, I'm sure, has wonderful athletes. That poor coach is taken over. I saw the expression on his face when he's 0-2 and he had a blank expression on his face, like a deer in the headlights. And, you know, he's thinking, the hell did I get myself into? You know, in Wisconsin it's a good point, too. When you watch Lincoln Riley in Southern Cal this year, watch and see how fast this team plays, because he had a fast one in Oklahoma, and Oklahoma is not going to drop the ball this year either. So it's a type of football that's played in high school that if you're fast, you're going to play running back and you're going to play defensive back. You're not going to platoon. In Florida or in the South, you play both positions, and you get recruited for both positions. If you're 6'2", 180, and can fly to the ball, you're going to be a quarterback. You know, if you're 5'11" and 220 and you're pounding the ball, you're going to be a running back. So speed kills in football, especially in the South. And when you get two good teams, look, the SEC has 7 or 8 good teams right now, and frankly, my Gators are not one of them. I saw Arkansas play really, 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 really good against South Carolina, I think. And anyway, there's 7 or 8 really good teams, and one of them is not Florida. Kentucky and Tennessee, who for years have been the doormats of the SEC, will not be that way this year, because Tennessee and Tennessee and Kentucky have the athletes to compete now. There's plenty of athletes to go around. What you got to tell these kids is that, listen, stay and play for us in the South. You're going to make the NFL. That's what they try to tell them. So, you know, when you're looking at a ball game, you're listening to Papa J. What the hell are you talking about, Papa J? Watch and see how fast the linebacker goes to the ball, or a defensive back breaks up a play. Watch how fast the running back can get the corner. Watch how fast the wide receiver can go down the field. So it's a lot to learn, and unfortunately, when Brian Kelly saw the look of his team and someone else came calling, he says, "I'll see you."
Yeah, you know, and the thing is, a few years ago, we're going to fire Brian. You know, there's other conversation, should they fire Brian Kelly and this, that, and whatever. You know, and you talk about the speed, and you talk about everything that can be done. Well, let's talk about Trayvon Walker. We're going to get into the Jaguars in just a little bit here after we make our picks, but I do want to shout out Georgia #1 pick, Trayvon Walker. Everybody said to me, what do you think about the pick, Dan? Because I wanted Aiden Hutchinson, and then it was Trayvon, and they said, what do you think? I said, give me a few games to see him. Let me see him in the NFL. Let me see how he eases his. Well, let's see what he does. Let's see if he's immediately effective. Well, in game 1, he was. The man was out of his mind. He had 3 solo tackles of the 4 that he had. He had 1 sack and an interception. He started off his career, first game ever as an NFL player, the #1 overall pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, Trayvon Walker, who is a hybrid, can play on the D-line and play linebacker at Georgia, came to the Jacksonville Jaguars with the #1 overall pick, and in his first game ever has a sack and an interception. And I mentioned him now a little bit earlier than our Jaguars conversation, because you're talking about just the talent of the
great ball player. And here I was the one that was professing from the Michigan, the Hutchinson kid was going to be the #1 draft pick. Well, that kid won't be able to hold this guy's job. This kid he's going to be a bigger version of Josh Allen. And Josh Allen played a great game. The Jaguars, I know we're going to get into the Jaguars sooner or later, but the Jaguars played a hell of a football game, and they almost pulled it off, but we'll get to that later if you want to go stick with the college football.
Yeah, and so we're going to make our college football picks. You can see on your screen right now that PJ has a 4-1 record and my record of 3-2 going into what we have coming up here this week. That's our initial one. So college football week 3, some people are saying, well, Dan, some teams are going into their 4th game. Yeah, that's what's called college football week 0, which is very strange and confusing. But we have college football week 3 essentially. I feel bad for Louisville because Louisville played a Friday night game last week and they're playing a Friday night game this week. They were at UCF last week. They're playing a Florida team again, but Florida State is coming to Kentucky. I just feel bad that they've had 2 short weeks back-to-back. That's not fair for Scott Satterfield and the crew. So I definitely feel bad about that. PJ, let's make a pick, though. Florida State, right? Mike Norvell's got them looking up. We both said give Norvell time. I had Norvell all 4 years at Memphis that he was there, and I've had him since he's come over to Florida State. I'm a fan of Mike Norvell. I like Mike Norvell, and I believe that he will help them win. Great recruiter and great in getting guys into the NFL, in my opinion. So taking a look at this game, Florida State looks better. Louisville is 1-1. They looked not great at all against Syracuse, and they wouldn't allow UCF to do really anything, especially in the second half of their win on the road at UCF. So what do you have for Florida State at Louisville?
This when I first looked at this game at the beginning of the year, I thought it was going to be a pick-em game. And I still think it's a pick-em game, mainly because Florida State's maybe a little bit overrated. But they've won 2 games. They had a week to rest. We've mentioned this before. Norvell has done a great job. I told you that in his 3rd year he would be coming to the well a little bit often. And I really think that we'll see how fast this team plays because Louisville plays fast. Syracuse is a good team this year, and Syracuse handled Louisville, and it's to their credit. I'm gonna stick with Florida State on this one, Daniel.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with Florida State on this one too. I think Florida State gets a victory here. I have them above Louisville in my predictions this year, so I'm going to go with Florida State in this matchup on the road. Louisville is still trying to find out, you're right, who they are. I said after the UCF game, it's like, is Syracuse that good or was UCF that bad? I would lean on the side that Syracuse is that good right now, and UCF just struggled with their new quarterback to really get anything done there, especially in the second half and throwing interceptions and whatnot. So a tough game there. Next game that we have up, PJ, is going to give us Purdue at Syracuse. Now, Purdue pushed in week 1 Penn State to the brink, and Syracuse is 2-0. Purdue last year made their way into the top 25. Again, not because they deserved it, but they beat Michigan State, who is a top 10 team. And when Purdue is unranked, this is how crazy it is. This even more egregiously states my point and hits it home with factual information. Michigan State was ranked in the top 10 last year when they lost to unranked Purdue. The next week in the rankings, they put Purdue in the top 25 to make it look like Michigan State had a quality loss. That's how crazy this is. Michigan State didn't drop that far, and they moved Purdue into the top 25 to go, oh, well, they are a good team. No, they weren't. You were just trying to justify keeping Michigan State in your top 15, which is ridiculous. Well, they lost that game 35-31 against Penn State at home. They romped Indiana State 56-0. People wondering what Indiana State is? It's where Larry Bird played. So pretty cool stuff here. But what are your thoughts on Purdue at Syracuse? Syracuse 2-0, and they have outscored their opponents collectively 79-21 to start the season.
Well, at the beginning of the year, I had Purdue one of the better teams in the Big Ten. I don't believe that anymore. But I do believe Syracuse is a lot better than I thought they would be. The man Dino Babers is probably coaching for his life. And I think that they pull this off, Daniel. I think being at home in the Dome and with their athletes, they got some good athletes now, I think that they can beat Purdue.
Yeah, I got Purdue here. I said to fans, listen, if there really was 37th, it was loud, the loudest game I've been at, and I always bring up that Syracuse game that I went to with my dad. where he was screaming next to me and I couldn't hear him. And I said, I want that loudness again, where it feels like you have headphones on and you don't have anything in your ears. And the game that got me the closest to it was this past game for Syracuse, so at home. And I said, with that game and as many fans showed up and as loud as you were, if Syracuse takes care of business and wins, and I said by like 30, right, wins in a big way over UConn, 20, 30 points, then I want 40,000. Well, I have asked for it. They did what they needed to do. So I'm hoping 42 is my magic number, but I want at least 40,000 people in the Dome. You can go pick apples before or after the game. There's no fair going on. Elton John has left the building. There is nothing else for you to do. It is not snowing. I do not want to hear excuses. I want 40 grand inside of that dome this Saturday to rock with me and Isaac Elford and all of us. I need to not be able to hear Isaac. I need to go, what? In the middle of the game. That's what I want. So I'm picking Syracuse to win this game. Isaac and I are going to break it down even more so in Tortora and Elford, which is a new show that we have, which is a product of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So I'm picking Syracuse to take care of Purdue at home. Ride to 3-0 and do it in front of a loud and rowdy 40K plus. Do not make me a liar, fans. Get it done. Next game we have up here, and they were...
Hold it a minute, Daniel.
Yeah, go ahead.
What's the capacity of the stadium?
Right now, without any new seating, it's just under 50,000.
There's no reason you can't get 45,000 people this town.
No, there's no reason why they can't cap it out. There's no reason why they can't. I was there when we were capping, when we were getting close to the cap. Okay? The last time I saw that thing get 33,000 plus was when most of it was LSU fans coming to see Leonard Fournette. So I want orange and blue. There's no reason why there should be any Purdue, okay? There might be some family in the corner. The band might try to get in there. I don't know what they're going to do. There might be a few sneaky deacon in there, but the majority of that 99.9% needs to be orange and blue. I want to see you out there, folks. This is my hometown. You are my people. We are blue collar. We also wear orange collars, and you wear them on Saturdays. So bring your butt to the game. I will see you there. It's at noon. You have no excuse. You don't have to go on to church until Sunday. So come to the game and sit in the seat, and let's have fun from 12 to 3 or 12 to 4, whatever it may be. That is your job this weekend. That is your homework, Syracuse fans. Get your tickets. Come to the game. No excuses. I want to see you pack the Dome because you have no reason not to, and I look forward to seeing you there. So those are my words. The next game that we have up here, PJ, oh my gosh, they were ranked number 5 in the country, and oh, Dan, what do you think? I think they shouldn't be. And oh, Dan, they were ranked number 8 in the country, and they lost to Marshall, and what do you think? Well, now they're not ranked in the top 25, which surprises me, because I thought the committee would drop them to 20 or 21 and go, oh, Notre Dame just had a bad couple weeks, and boo-boo-hoo and a boo-boo-hoo. No, they're not ranked in the top 25. California's coming into town to South Bend, PJ. California at Notre Dame, what do you got?
I'm going to pick Notre Dame. I think the young man who's coaching them now is probably going to do the best job he's ever done on a field because he's going to have to be. I look for Notre Dame to bounce back on this team.
Yeah, looking at Cal and where they stand, obviously this hasn't been a football team that's done a lot of great things recently. Their head coach is Justin Wilcox, and this one, listen, Notre Dame is reeling, and PJ is going to pick Notre Dame in this one. I'm going with Cal. I just, I feel like Notre Dame is starting off this one at 0-3. I think it's going to be a tough road to hoe. I have nothing against the new coach. It is not his fault that they rank them too damn high and have all these expectations and whatnot. Listen, I think Cal comes in. I think they take advantage of the fact of this, and I think that they beat Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame starts off the season 0-3 and move forward from there. Remember, Notre Dame lost their starting quarterback as well, and God bless, and hopefully he will be better. So lost their starting quarterback, started off the season 0-2. God bless the quarterback, and may he come back healthy and better than ever and at 100% in all ways. I'm going to have Cal in this one. B-Y. Go ahead.
There's not a lot of activity with the top five when you're talking about Alabama plays Louisiana Monroe, Ohio State plays Toledo, Michigan plays Connecticut, and Clemson is at Louisiana Tech. Come on, there's not a lot. You don't need a rocket science to figure those things out.
Wait a minute. Oklahoma State is playing Arkansas Pine Bluff. You know, it's like, I mean, come on, people. Like, you know what I mean? And listen, anything can happen. I understand, and we've seen that happen. Clemson's playing Louisiana Tech, so I mean, these games are definitely set up for certain teams to take advantage of it. Watch that North Dakota State-Arizona game, though. FCS versus the FBS. PJ, let's go there. That game's going to be played at 11 p.m. on Fox Sports 1. If I can stay up for it, I'm going to watch it. North Dakota State at Arizona. What do you got?
I like North Dakota State. I think that they play a good brand of football over there. Those state people, they're just the fast of the ball. I think that they got a shot at this one.
Yeah, and I'm gonna equalize you on that one too. I'm gonna go with North Dakota State in this one. Listen, this is a team. I've spoken to the commissioner of their conference. They are a phenomenal brand of football. I'd be surprised if somebody doesn't try and pull them into FBS Division I with all this change going on, or if they haven't already tried to pull them in. But I love what they do. I love, who they sent. And they got 3 quarterbacks they've sent to the NFL. So big shout out to them. They've also sent Christian Watson, wide receiver for Green Bay, who's a rookie this year. So much love. Another game to do here for college, PJ. BYU was ranked 21 when Baylor number 9 came into town. Now they flipped it and went from 21 to 12 after that win. They're going to head on the road to face 25 Oregon. So BYU not going too far, Utah to Oregon, as they will take on the Ducks on the road on Fox at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time in Eugene, Oregon. What do you have, BYU at Oregon?
Well, Oregon got smacked, and I don't think the coach is too happy about it. They got smacked the first game of the year. They're not going to get smacked again here. I think they pull this one out.
All right, PJ's got Oregon. I got BYU in this one. So I am going with BYU to keep it going. I think BYU is going to have an interesting year this year, and I'm really excited to see it. So I got them coming out with a strong start continuing here. PJ, a couple more before we take a step aside and come back with the NFL. We'll look at one of the games that we have here, and that's South Florida at Florida. Now, Florida agreed with South Florida to play this series, and UCF allegedly didn't agree initially, but now they have to play the Florida Gators. South Florida with Jeff Scott, who comes from the Dabo Swinney coaching tree, trying to turn things around in South Florida, and you got the Florida Gators. This game is in Gainesville. South Florida at Florida. Are you worried at all about South Florida coming into town after what just happened with the Florida Gators, or do you think the Gators will bounce back?
No, I think that they bounce back. I think this is probably Billy Napier. It's his third game as a Gator coach. You're kidding me? Frankly, this is the turning point for him. If he loses this game, all of a sudden things are going to start being a little bit rocky. They're going to be talking about the Dan Mullen thing, the Urban Meyer thing. No, Billy Napier is a much better coach than when he showed on Kentucky. Kentucky was a better team, people. Remember that. They were a better team than Florida. South Florida is not a better team than Florida right now. Florida wins.
Yeah, and I'm gonna pick Florida in this matchup as well. I think that they're able to take care of South Florida. Maybe South Florida a few years from now can give a better test, but I'm gonna pick Florida in this one. Rutgers at Temple. 2 of those Northeast former Big East schools. Temple is in the American. Rutgers is in the Big Ten. Rutgers at Temple. What do you got?
This would be a good game to watch. I'm going to try to catch this one. I like Temple in this game.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Temple too. Unfortunately, Stan Drayton, who has a connection back to Syracuse, he had a rough go at it in his first game of the season against the Duke Blue Devils, who also have a new head coach in Mike Elko, who came from Texas A&M under Jimbo Fisher. So I'm going to pick Temple in this one. Drayton to get a victory over Rutgers here and have a positive note here a few weeks into the season. The last game that we're going to do is against, it's hard to find any one of the top 25 playing a ranked team right now, but I found somebody. So we have Miami 13 playing at 24 Texas A&M. What do you have for this?
Yeah, I had this game circled too. This game, this is going to be a good one. Jimbo Fisher's, Mario Cristobal coming from Oregon back to Miami. It's really ignited that whole area down there up. Not only is he from there, he coached there. He's back there coaching there again in that area. He's going to get a whole bunch of kids coming to Miami. And Jimbo got beat last week by an inferior team. Appalachian State's always been able to put up numbers, offensive numbers, but not against a good defensive team. And they didn't have it. I like Miami coming in, winning this game at Texas A&M.
Yeah, this one I've been going back and forth with. And, Appalachian State, mind you, in the great state of North Carolina, people forget how they played spoiler over the last decade to a bunch of different teams. So, they beat an SEC team, and they are good. And the Sun Belt, the Sun Belt. Marshall, new Sun Belt team, Appalachian State, Coastal Carolina, they're all looking pretty. PJ, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I just feel that weather. I'm going to be down there soon in the palm trees. But I think Miami's going to take care of some business against Texas A&M. And keep in mind, folks, I picked the Miami Dolphins over the New England Patriots this past week, too. So I'm feeling good about Miami in recent history. Those are our college football picks. PJ and I will take a step aside for a fast break. When we spin back around, we are going to give you our NFL picks, and we'll take a look at who was right more of the time this past week as PJ and I continue our predictions and get you set for what's coming up here in NFL Week 2 with a look back as well at NFL Week 1 on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life from inside of these Cafe Kubal studios. Thank you so much for being here.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafekubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Kubal needs. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there, and of course you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100, and also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout central and upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. As a patient, what do we want? To be cared for, to be listened to, and to have someone walk us through the process on our path to victory. Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics does all of those things beautifully, with Dr. Mark Petropoli leading the team on 791 West Genesee Street in Skaneateles, New York, located minutes from beautiful Skaneateles Lake. Whatever your injury may be from head to toe, preventative care, rehab, physical therapy, laser therapy, and surgery are all available at Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, where they care about us, they listen to us, and they understand that everyone's path to victory is a little bit different. Let them help you on yours by calling 315-685-7544 to make your appointment today. That's 315-685-7544. And find out more information at victorysportsmedicine.com. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, hanging out inside of the Cafe Kubal studios with the man that they call PJ, as well as Goso and Papa Joe. So always happy to have Papa Joe here, and of course that is not my real singing voice, folks. That is my fake one, so understand. But very happy to have PJ here with us. We're talking about so many different things. The PJ Takeover happens every Thursday. It gives you a reason to watch the entire show and listen to the entire show in your pajamas. Even if you're at work, I don't care, because it's the PJ Takeover. So if you show up to your Fortune 500 company and you're on the 17th floor and everybody's in suit and tie and you're sitting there in your pajamas and Crocs and they ask you why, you say because from 9 to 11 I'm listening to the PJ Takeover in my PJs. And that's what you need to do. And there's nothing wrong with it. So we're happy to have you here and always appreciate you on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. PJ is hanging out with me, and we've discussed Major League Baseball as well as college football. We went back to our picks last week, gave you our games that we circled and predicted for this week, and now PJ and I will talk about the Jaguars and the NFL. And first, we'll take a look at our picks from this past week. So in NFL Week 1, PJ and I ran the gamut here, and we made our predictions. And in making those predictions, this is what it officially looked like across the board. So I'm going to circle these and go through it here as we go here. So PJ and I, you see PJ's picks on the left side of your screen and mine on the right side, inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios, where sports meets that thing called life. And we are very happy to be here with you on youtube.com, facebook.com, and mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. PJ picked the Rams. I picked the Bills. I was correct in that one. We both picked my man, famous motherfreaking Jameis Winston. By the way, and PJ, this is how crazy and how cool God is. Jameis Winston was trending on Twitter this morning right before we talked about him. So Jameis was waiting for us this morning. PJ and I both picked famous Jameis and the Saints, who won over the Falcons on the road barely. Good stuff there. The Niners lost to the Bears, so PJ and I both got that one wrong. Nobody wanted to win the Steelers-Bengals game, and Chris Boswell's field goal ball bouncing off the goalpost was heard so loud that it on the Richter scale, it hit at least a 3.5 to a 5, depending on where you were. So I picked the Bengals. They did not hold serve on that one. The Eagles won a barn burner 38-35 over the Lions, so I got that one right. PJ picked the Patriots, and I picked the Dolphins, so I got that one correct. We both picked the Ravens over the Jets, which that could be picked by anyone at this point. The Jets struggling, and hopefully, listen, their youth is really good, but hopefully they get better. The Jaguars roared all the way back after really not having a great game on offensive number-wise. They came all the way back to take a 1-point lead and then gave up a touchdown. Jaguars, we both had them. They did not win. The Browns thwarted the Baker Mayfield revenge plot there, and the Panthers lost, who we both had. The Colts and the Titans, that one I'll just put like a dash here because nobody wanted to win that game. And the Colts ended up tying, or not the Titans, Colts, Texans. And so we both picked the Colts in that one. So that is a tie for us. The Titans fell to the Giants, folks, with Brian Daboll coming from the Bills and winning that game. We got that one wrong. PJ picked the Packers, got that one incorrect. I picked the Vikings, who I think are better than people give them credit for. And then taking a look at the rest of it here in Week 1, the final games down the stretch at Kansas City was able to handle Arizona. And then here's a funny thing that I really liked is the last game, and so PJ and I both got Kansas City right. The last game of the regular season, I was down at PJ's for it. And I stayed up and we watched this game, and the Chargers and the Raiders played to the last 3 seconds in overtime. If the Raiders had lost, both teams would have went to the playoffs, but the Raiders ended up winning, and so that put us in a situation here where the Raiders moved on and the Chargers were bounced out. Apparently the Chargers didn't forget about what that felt like, and they gave it back to the Raiders, playing in the first game of the regular season this time around and saying, hey guys, remember when you beat us and kept us out of the postseason? Well, screw you. And they took them down. The Cowboys, man, did they look ugly. Dak Prescott got hurt. God willing, he'll be okay. And we both picked the Broncos. So we had a tough stretch down the road here. So PJ has So he is 1-1, 2-1, 2 well, let's see here. So we got 3-2, 3-3, 4-3, 4-4, 4-5, 4-5-1, 4-6, 4-7, 5-7, 5-8, 5-9, 5-10. So PJ ends the first week with a record of 5, 10, and 1. So, and then my record here, take a look, 2-0, 2-2, 3, 4-2, 5-2, 5-4, 5-4-1, 5-5-1. Let's see here, 5-5-1, 6-7. So, all right. So I and mine 7-8-1. So both of us with a losing record to start the season. PJ, your thoughts on our NFL Week 1 predictions? You got me in college football 4-1, and I'm 3-2 to start. In the NFL, you're 5-10-1, and I'm 7-8-1. Your thoughts?
Oh, it was good opening weekend. A few surprises, obviously, but those kind of things happen when you're dealing with professional football. So the cream is going to rise to the top in their divisions. I think some of the teams are trying to shake themselves down with some of the roster moves and stuff. So I think we're not going to see good football being played probably till the third or fourth game of the year.
Yeah, this was definitely an interesting week to start it off. Like Greg said, not a good week for kickers in the NFL. No, not for the Colts, not for the Texans, not for the Steelers until they got the last one, and not for the Bengals and Evan McPherson. So PJ 5-10-1, me 7-8-1. The games that we had of difference that helped me out were my pick for the Dolphins over the Patriots and my pick for the Vikings over the Green Bay Packers, which leads us in, PJ, for us to make our predictions for NFL Week 2. And, of course, we'll talk about the Jaguars once we get to them here before we wrap things up inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Fill your cup up right every morning that you listen to the show by going to 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse, inside of their double-decker cafe on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, and on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in their drive-thru in North Syracuse, as well as for those like PJ that are out of town, go to cafekubal.com and they'll ship it to you. Cafe, KUBAL.com. With that being said, PJ, it is week 2 of the NFL, and it is time for us to lay down our predictions again as we both fight to get over 500. I am close, and I got a couple games on PJ here. He's got a game on me in college like we talked about. Thursday night tonight, we have the Chargers at the Chiefs. We get to see some darn good quarterbacking in this game. Chargers at the Chiefs, PJ. What do you have for this one?
Well, if you're a bet man, you got to bet the over on this game because these people may score 100 points. The only reason I'm picking Kansas City is because they're playing at home. So I like Kansas City in this game. This is a pick'em game. These kind of games are tough to figure this early in the year, but I think Kansas City just looks too good.
Yeah, Kansas City was able to take care of business against Arizona. I think this one, though, as much as the Chargers were able to avenge themselves from the last game of the regular season last year, getting that win over the Raiders to start this season, I think, and a lot of teams getting to start their first couple weeks in division, which I think is really cool and, makes more people watch it because there's definitely more on these divisional games that can affect you down the stretch. But Chargers got a good one. I don't think that they outscore Kansas City. So and this could be 44-41. It could be very high, but I have Kansas City winning this matchup here, which will bring us into the Jets taking on the Cleveland Browns, PJ. What do you have? Jacoby Brissett didn't look bad, a guy that I covered it when, NC State guy, cover his team. Very happy Jacoby is still floating around the NFL. He started for the Colts. He started for the Patriots. He's now starting for the Browns. Your thoughts on the Jets, who may have Joe Flacco once again here at quarterback? Jets at the Browns.
This is a Browns game all the way. They're only 4.5-point favorites, but you got Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb and those guys. They can run the heck out of it. So I look for Cleveland to come out on top here.
Yeah, I feel the same way about it. I said the best fantasy football players to play, and you can go back and get all my fantasy advice for week 2 of the NFL by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, as well as facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, and get all the information. If you have a question, reply to the video or reply to us on social media, Facebook at wakeupcalldt, Twitter at calldt, or Instagram at wakeupcall_DT. Send me a private message, send me a public message, whatever you got to do to get your questions in on your specific team. I said in this game that it's the running backs and Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb you should definitely play in this matchup. Before we get out of this one too, you voted in our poll, and the poll has stayed very, very close. So I'm very excited to this, and I'm definitely looking forward to the opportunity of letting you know about that. So our poll about Ohtani and Judge and who you would pick to be the AL MVP is still very, very close. We've had a bunch of votes come in already, and we'll get to those in just a little bit. Washington at Detroit, PJ. Washington gets a victory over the Jaguars. Detroit pushed all the way to the brink for Philadelphia. 38-35, they take a loss. Washington outlasts the Jaguars. What do you have for this one?
Jaguars played really good in this game. Carson Wentz looked like the old Carson Wentz. I don't think he has any problem with Detroit here. I like Washington.
Yeah, Jahan Dotson, who I predicted would get drafted high and might have took some heat for that, or some people maybe thought I was nuts. He got drafted where I thought he would get drafted, and he went to the Commanders, who went up to get him, and it worked out in their favor. I'm going to pick Washington in this one as well. I think the Washington Commanders, listen, they got a good coach, and I'm just, the Lions, they can score, and Washington, yeah, I know Carson Wentz makes mistakes, but this is a game where I think we might be in a situation where a bunch of points are scored, a lot of fantasy goodness, and it may come down to the wire again as Detroit starts off their season playing 2 NFC East foes, but I'm going to have Washington on the road in this one. I think it could go either way, though. I do want to make note of that. Tampa Bay at New Orleans. Tampa Bay's offense didn't look pretty. Tom Brady's got some off-the-field stuff going on. God bless to him and his family, and I hope everything ends up being okay. And famous Jameis won on the road at the end, 27-26, I believe. What do you have for this one, New Orleans at home?
I think Tampa Bay is a little bit too good for them. I think Jameis was a flash in the pan this last week. I don't think he plays near as well as that. I like Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I think Tampa Bay, listen, they didn't score a lot of points in week 1. They didn't really show a lot in week 1, but I'm going to pick Tampa in this one as well. For New Orleans to barely get out alive against Atlanta, who's a team that has a lot of talent, but Marcus Mariota really didn't have a great day out there. So I'm going to say if it took everything to beat Atlanta, I think Tampa's going to have a little bit more here. Tampa's starting off 2 games of the season on the road at Dallas, and now they're at New Orleans. Carolina at the New York Football Giants, who just beat the Titans on the road. What do you have for this one?
Boy, Baker Mayfield looked awful good against his old team. I like him. I like him in this game against New York.
So PJ going with the Panthers in this one. I thought the Giants looked really good. And what did I say? I said my guy DeAndre Smith, who's a good friend of mine and former running backs coach at Syracuse, and also went on to Purdue, was with Utah State, was with Texas Tech, and with North Carolina when they had the Michael Carter and non-household names over there that now you people know. Well, the Panthers are playing at the Giants, and I said if he can make a non-household name a household name, he can make a household name again in Saquon Barkley, who ran for over 150 yards with DeAndre Smith in his first game as his running backs coach. PJ is going with Carolina. I am picking the home Giants to win this game, and for another big day for Saquon and his team. The New England Patriots at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh barely got out alive on the road at Cincinnati. New England lost on the road at Miami. Do they lose again? What do you have?
I do. I like the Steelers in this game. New England's going to have some problems this year. If Mac Jones is as hurt as I think he is, they're not going to be playing very well.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Steelers in this one as well. I think Pittsburgh will do enough to take care of business here. and I think that they had more in the tank and obviously didn't show a great performance against Cincinnati. So I think they'll have a little chip on their shoulder, and they'll take care of that here. Indianapolis at Jacksonville, God willing, I will be on site on location for year number 12, as I will be sitting at TIAA Bank Field thinking about that Sunday sauce I'm going to be eating when I get out of the game at Mary and Joe's. What do you have for Indy at Jacksonville?
Boy, the Jaguars, they needed to win that first game, but they played good enough. I was pleased. I was happy to see them play well. Matt Ryan with Indianapolis, I'm not sure I like that combination. What I do like is the combination of Walker and Josh Allen going crazy over the Indianapolis. I like Jacksonville.
I also like the combination that we have of James Robinson and Travis Etienne, who both did some good things in the game. PJ, overall thoughts on Jacksonville? I think the only sore thumb I had coming out of the game was the inconsistency of the offensive line's ability to protect the quarterback throughout the entire game.
You've got to be able to keep this kid upright. I mean, he's got all the intangibles to win this game. He needs to win this game, but he's got to be standing straight. You saw how good Travis Etienne is. Let me tell you, that kid is fast. And he had a problem last year with his knee, not this year. Well, he can move. And frankly, he played better than Charles Robinson, but he's a different kind of runner than Charles Robinson. He can now catch the ball out of the backfield. Robinson gets the yards between the tackles. The defense looked good. I really want them to win this game, and I think that they can.
Yeah, I got Jacksonville winning the matchup as well. I look forward to being down there in Jacksonville, like I said, for year number 12 and covering the team. Very thankful to the Jaguars for allowing me the opportunity to be there and be a proud credentialed member of the Jacksonville Jaguars media. And this being year number 12, my dozen year makes me think of donuts. My donuts make me think of Lincourt. Lincourt makes me think of Kigley's. And Kigley's make me think of G-Mama and your mom, Miss the wonderful, beautiful Dorothy, a.k.a. Wart. So shout out to both of them up in heaven, as we'll be thinking of you and enjoying this game. I got the Jacksonville Jaguars taking care of it and winning this game inside a TIAA Bank Field to give me a 1-0 start on location this year. Miami at Baltimore. Baltimore beat the Jets. Miami beat the Patriots. So both of these teams beat an AFC East team. Miami being it in division, Baltimore being out of division. When Miami goes to Baltimore, and we got speed on Miami and speed on Baltimore, and we have a team that you look at Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle as opposed to the Ravens, you look at Lamar Jackson and like a J.K. Dobbins and whatnot. What are your thoughts on Miami and Baltimore, two teams that can run it with different people?
Well, did we see the real Tua last week or the real Tua from the year before? Are we going to see this week?
Yeah.
I think we see the Tua from the year before. I think Lamar Jackson's team is a little bit too much for this, and I like him in this game.
Yeah, this is a tough game to predict. This is really this is a game that I think is a toss-up that can go either way. I think I picked Miami last week to win at home against the Patriots, and I thought that they would take care of business. This one is a tough game, and it's a very difficult game for me to pick. I'm going to pick Baltimore with PJ, but I really, really hope that this is an exciting one to watch between the two. It's the last 1 o'clock game we have to talk about here. Atlanta at the Los Angeles Rams. This is the Todd Gurley Bowl. Todd Gurley played on both teams. At the end of his time in the Rams, not much happened. And in his one season with the Falcons, which I didn't think much would happen, not much happened. So Atlanta's playing at Los Angeles. They started the season by losing to the Buffalo Bills. They have their second game at home in a row. Do the Rams get a dub, or do the Rams continue to look like their horns have been chiseled away?
Oh, this one could get ugly. I like the Rams much the best in this game.
Yeah, I got the Rams in this one as well. Shout out to the Falcons for Cordero Patterson having himself a nice start. Kyle Pitts, I'm hoping big things from him this year. Drake London, the rookie, got involved in his debut. So I do like a lot of things that we saw, but I got to pick the Rams in this one to take care of business. So we're going to go both with the L.A. Rams. Next game that PJ and I have up on the NFL Week 2 docket takes us to San Francisco. Seattle's coming off a win against Russell Wilson with Geno Smith, and Trey Lance is commanding the offense of San Fran. What do you have for this?
I don't like either one of these guys as quarterback. I think that San Francisco did the main man Jimmy Garoppolo wrong over there. And because of that, do I like Geno Smith and Seattle? No, I can't. Not either one of these quarterbacks. I don't know who's going to win this game, Daniel. But I'm going to go strictly with the 49ers because they're at home.
Yeah, I'm picking
This is a game I'm not going to watch.
Yeah, I'm picking the 49ers. This game could get ugly. Could be a low-scoring game. Could be. I anticipate of all the games that I'm looking at right now, this being a lower-scoring one, which is not as eventful. Cincinnati at Dallas. This is Andy Dalton played for Cincinnati, then he played for Dallas. Dallas doesn't have him anymore. They have Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush is going to be their starting quarterback on this team. I feel like they should ask Kellen Moore, who's been on the staff for a while, who used to lace it up for Boise State, if he'll come out of retirement and play for him since he knows the offense. But Cooper Rush will take over. Cincinnati lost in overtime, and Dallas is without Dak Prescott at home. What do you got?
I can't stand the Cowboys. I haven't rooted for the Cowboys in over 20 years. I love Joe Burrow in this game. He was slinging it last week like what Steve Spurrier said. He'd be pitching it all over the park. Well, he pitched a few wrong, but he's better. He's better for it this week. I like Cincinnati over Dallas.
Yeah, I got Cincinnati over Dallas. I mean, no offense to Cooper Rush or anything, but Dallas, can't get it done sometimes with Dak. I don't think they're going to get it done with the backup quarterback here in this one. Houston, probably the cheapest tickets you'd ever find at a Dallas game. Tickets as low as $23 right now.
Oh, my goodness.
So, Houston at Denver. My man Nate Hackett debuts as a head coach on Monday night, and people have gone crazy on him all week long. Won't leave him alone for a decision that he made. And I said, why don't you back off? Because he's coached one game. So let's see what he does next. Houston at Denver. Does Denver rebound? And does Denver rebound before people start to shut up about Nate Hackett? Or which one happens first? Do people shut up about Nate Hackett and Denver wins after? Or does Denver win before and people are still talking about Nate Hackett?
Well, Denver people should be happy they got Russell Wilson. That's all I got to say about that. They win this game easy.
Yeah, I got the Broncos in this one as well. And hopefully, listen, you can disagree with somebody's opinion to do something, but it's Thursday. It's officially an NFL game day. So I think we've spent 3 days talking about it. Well, you guys spent 3 days talking about it. I talked about it a little bit here. I'm going to go, and I've known Nate Hackett. I've known a lot of his successes. I'm picking the Denver Broncos. And if I'm going to be the only person to respect him this week, so be it. Because there's a lot of armchair quarterbacks that wouldn't know what the hell to do with time management and timeouts if they were given the job. Denver at home. Arizona Cardinals at the Las Vegas Raiders. Both teams have a loss. Arizona coming to Vegas. Vegas didn't look great to start things off. However, Devontae Adams had himself a pretty nice day. What do you have for this one?
I love the combination of Derek Carr and Devontae Adams. I think it's almost as good as Aaron Rodgers. Almost, I said, as good as Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. But he's going to thrive in this game. I think that LA wins this game easy.
Yeah, I got the Vegas Raiders in this one as well. I think they'll bounce back at home and get a dub here. Chicago at Green Bay is our Sunday night game. You, Mary, and I will be watching Chicago at Green Bay. Green Bay put up 7 points in a loss to Minnesota, and Chicago beat San Francisco on the road. What do you have for this?
Oy. When the wide receiver from Green Bay dropped a touchdown pass from Aaron Rodgers, I looked at the expression on Rodgers' face and he couldn't believe it. And the rest of the game didn't turn out much better than that. If these wide receivers don't know how to play the game when you're with Aaron Rodgers, they're not going to learn how to play the game. They got to play better. I think that they win a game at home.
And pardon me, Chicago was at home in that win over San Francisco. Pardon me on that. 19-10, they were at home in that. So it's their first road game of the season. PJ and I are going to pick the Packers in this one. part of the reason I'm picking the Packers because I believe the Packers will win. I'm also terrified of how Mary will look at me during the game if I don't pick Green Bay. So
Right.
I don't want to have a meatball taken off my plate. So
You're right.
Monday Night Football, we have Tennessee at Buffalo. We have a doubleheader, but for the first time ever in a doubleheader for Monday Night Football, the games are going to be going on at almost the exact same time. Instead of being 3 hours apart, they're only an hour apart, probably in the hopes that they can get people to watch both of these and command the market, as Disney owns ESPN Plus, ESPN, ESPN2, and ABC, and the games will be shown on these. So they'll have a game on one channel and a game on another channel, making the money on both. Tennessee at Buffalo, Minnesota at Philadelphia. What do you have for Monday Night Football?
If you're not a fan of Josh Allen after last week, you're not a fan. This guy's the real deal, and he may be playing the best football the last 2 years of any quarterback in the league. I know that's a high standard right there, but this kid is good. And I like Buffalo actually real easy in this game.
Yeah, I'm going with Buffalo in this matchup. The Titans are coming off of a loss at home. The Buffalo Bills are coming off a win over the reigning Super Bowl champions on the road, where they had 4 turnovers. And anywhere 3 to 5 turnovers, even 2 sometimes, you're going to lose that game. They won the game by 3 touchdowns, 31-10. I picked Buffalo, and I'll pick them again at home on Monday Night Footy Ball. And what do we have for Minnesota? Bum, 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 bum. This is a game a few years ago that decided who went to the Super Bowl. And Philadelphia went, and they ended up defeating the Patriots, who defeated the Jaguars, who were also in the Final Four and had an opportunity to go to the Super Bowl that year. And I followed them all the way to Foxborough, or as you say in Boston, Foxborough. So we have Minnesota at Philadelphia, PJ. They both have victories. Who's winning this one?
It seems like watching Justin Jefferson last week, no one wanted to cover him because no one could cover him. He had so much yards. This is a tough game. This is a pick end game. Jalen Hurts is playing the way he's supposed to play. He's supposed to throw the ball well. He's supposed to run the ball well. I'm not so sure that the two equal each other. He'll learn something from Kirk Cousins. I think I like Minnesota in this game, just by a smidgen over Philly.
I picked Minnesota last week to beat the Packers. I'll pick them this week to beat the Eagles. I have Lake Minnetonka and the beautiful, beautiful victory for them on Monday Night Football. Greg said it is weird to do a Monday night doubleheader. It's weird to do a Monday night doubleheader early in the season, is what he said. I'm looking at the fact that Buffalo plays at 7:15, and at 8:30, Philadelphia hosts it. So they're playing at almost exactly the same time, which means you can't watch both games unless you have picture-in-picture. So it's going to make things a little bit weird. However, I do like it. I'm okay with it because I'm going to be watching the Buffalo game. So with no disrespect, I like all the teams that are out there, but I'm going to be watching the Buffalo game until that game's over. I might switch back and forth, and at halftimes will run a little differently, which is a good thing. So you will get fans on both, and so enjoy it. Enjoy Monday night. Those are all of our picks. PJ 5-10-1 in the NFL. I am 7-8-1 as we go into week 2 of our predictions. And just to let you all know, on Twitter right now, we've now reached 50% apiece. Shohei Ohtani, Aaron Judge. The world has responded very early on to my poll, and you can vote all week long into next Thursday. So we got 7 days to do this. Who is the American League MVP in your opinion? Shohei Ohtani or Aaron Judge? Right now, the votes have finally hit 50%. Some people replied and said, I don't even know who to pick because I like them both. So we are at 50% right now. PJ, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm surprised it gets close. I mean, I'm a big Ohtani fan. I mean, I was last year, and frankly, I know he was a runaway MVP last year. But look at Aaron Judge, a Triple Crown winner in the American League. If you don't know what that means, it means you win the batting title, the home run title, and the RBI title. Not too many times has this come along like this. He should be the best and is the best this year.
Yeah, well, we shall see. The voting is here. The voting continues, and your votes matter. Go to Twitter @CallDT, CALLDT, and vote in our polls. PJ, the first PJ takeover, a grand success. Thank you as always, and I look forward to talking with you very soon.
Okay, we'll see you shortly. Bye.
Take care. That coming from PJ here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. We'll take our final step aside of the broadcast here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and we'll wrap things up and, believe it or not, get you set for Friday momentarily here on the broadcast. So thank you so much for tuning in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We always appreciate you. We thank you. And I send you my prayers and my love every day. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville beats. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career. It's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. I want to thank you for being a part of this broadcast of Wake Up Call and every broadcast that you're a part of. I want to thank Papa Joe for our first and very successful, in my opinion, PJ Takeover, as Papa Joe will be joining me not just every Thursday, but the whole Thursday show. So Papa Joe with me all the way through on Thursdays. Like I said, this all started with him coming on the show one time to two times for college football season, for the NFL and college football season, for every Thursday, and now every Thursday for both hours. So the PJ Takeover, a grand success in my opinion, thanks to PJ. Talking about Major League Baseball, the current wild card race, and the Diamondbacks are still in it. Hey! So same distance as the Boston Red Sox, 10.5 games. College football, we looked at our Week 2 predictions, where PJ went 4-1 and I went 3-2. Jacksonville Jaguars talk, the NFL, we looked at our Week 1 predictions, where PJ went 5-10-1 and I went 7-8-1. And we made our predictions for NFL Week 2. So next week, and we'll do this every single week, we'll make predictions, take a look back at our predictions. So we'll take a look at our record that we had the week before. We'll give an overall tally, and we'll make predictions for the upcoming week. So we'll take a look back at what we chose for college football and the NFL. We'll give a tally of what we have so far, and then we will make predictions for college football's current week and the NFL's current week as well. I want to thank you all for listening and watching Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios on 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street in Syracuse, New York, as well as on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, and on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in North Syracuse, New York, at their drive-through location. So however you connected with us, thank you so much for being a part of the show where sports meets life. And of course on youtube.com, facebook.com, and mixlr.com, all /wakeupcalldt, on youtube.com /wakeupcalldt, and on wakeupcalldt.com. After the shows go live, make sure you check out the archive. We will be adding a bunch of shows to that, so for your listening pleasure, on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes and Apple Podcasts, MixLR, Player FM, Podbean, Podvine, TuneIn, Spotify, Stitcher, and YouTube. You can search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT, and they'll play all of those great shows for you. Cafe Kubal, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Witty Wicks, PB&J's Lunchbox, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Avicoli's, Mon Pa's, Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Pizza Man, Honda City of Liverpool, Chick-fil-A Cicero, and Chick-fil-A Clay, Mother's Cupboard, Chick-fil-A Watertown. We want to thank you all for being our Central and Upstate New York partners and beyond. And we are the proud exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. It is Fins Way Up every single week on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, as the Dolphins join us every Wednesday during Dolphin Time on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora to start the show off at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. You had a doubleheader of Dolphin Time this week, under promise, over deliver, as we've had the opportunity to share Jeff Lonzak's story with you, the men's and women's tennis head coach at Lemoyne College for the Dolphins, starting off the 2022-23 campaign with a victory for both teams, winning their matches. And then you also heard from Marissa, a.k.a. Missy Lissicatos, who joined me from the Lemoyne women's soccer team to tell her incredible story of smiling through adversity, and how she has a tattoo to remind her of a Bible verse to do exactly that on her left arm. So you can go back and watch those. We'll be airing those as separate specials today on youtube.com /wakeupcalldt. So make sure you go watch them. And on facebook.com /wakeupcalldt. Get all of our Dolphin content every single week as we bring you every Wednesday. We bring you the opportunity every Wednesday at 9 a.m. on every first and third Wednesday. We give you AD and DT. Every second and fourth Wednesday, we bring you the Dolphin Dive at the same time at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. So make sure you check us out. Thank you so much for tuning in to all of our Dolphin content. You can get it on the Lemoyne tab on wakeupcalldt.com, as well as by going to youtube.com /wakeupcalldt and clicking subscribe. For more information on your Dolphins, go to LemoyneDolphins.com. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and we are proud to bring you the Bobcat Buzz every single month. We have more than underpromised and over-delivered on this one. You have seen a multitude of specials. You have had a roundtable discussion with the men's soccer team as reigning national champions. You've had a roundtable discussion with the reigning national champion women's soccer team, a one-on-one conversation with Jessica Shepard of the women's soccer team, one-on-one with Haley Elsey of the women's soccer team, one-on-one with Carrie Welsh of the women's soccer team, and one-on-one with Gabby Cordero of the women's soccer team. And you have also had another one-on-one special Bobcat Buzz with Nick Dimitrievsky after a 3-0 start to their season, and with Alex Grigorita after a 1-1-1 start to his season for women's soccer as their head coach. This Friday, we will be featuring in the second hour the inaugural baseball team. This has never happened before. They've never had a roster and anything coming up here. This is the inaugural season of Bryan and Stratton College Baseball in Syracuse. These players are making history as they will forever be a part of the original roster. Sean Peake will be forever the original head coach. And I have specials that are going to be coming to you this Friday, tomorrow, for those of you that are watching and listening live, which I'm ecstatic about doing this. We will have the opportunity this Friday to bring you my conversations in one-on-one Bobcat Buzz specials featuring Evan Reynolds from Boston, Massachusetts, Alex Garcia from Rochester, New York, and Brian Angeles of the Dominican Republic, who moved to New York at 11 years old. Each of them will have one-on-one conversations with me and Bobcat Buzz that will lead to a roundtable discussion where I get to talk about my ex-girlfriends a little bit more, which means you get to laugh Friday morning and have some fun with us. So with that being said, find all of our Bobcat content by going to the BSC Syracuse tab on wakeupcalldt.com, subscribe to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, and of course, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com for more information. With that being said, my Salt City shirt, as well as my 315 and all my Cuse 315 pillows can all be bought right now, as well as all of their amazing Halloween and fall decor and all of their football great things for your house that you can find at Witty Wicks, 190 Township Boulevard, right by the Wildcat Sports Pub in front of Movie Tavern, 190 Township Boulevard, Camillus, New York. Head there today and go to wittywicks.com and make sure you buy the stuff up before it is gone. Facebook at WakeUpCallDT, Twitter at CallDT, Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. And from the Cafe Kubal Studios for Papa Joe and myself, Dan Tortora, I hope you have a fantastic day. I hope you stay safe. And Max Scherzer, I didn't get to talk about it a lot today, really much at all, so we'll talk about that tomorrow. I didn't forget. Pictures coming up for you. Keep voting in our polls on Twitter at CallDT, and I look forward to talking with you all soon. In the meantime, as always, God bless, no stress, do your best. Always.